This is Paul, representing TCWEP, turning hateful into grateful, overcoming the common fear and misconceptions of networking.
Absolutely. It's like the gym, Paul. It's like, oh, God, I really don't want to go to the gym. And then you get to the gym and it's amazing and you feel great.
With tips and tricks on networking and much more. Stay tuned. Today's guest has a resume that includes many well-known names to the Twin Cities hospitality industry. You likely have heard many of them, such as Mintahoe Catering and the Guthrie Theater. Currently, she is Vice President of Marketing and Communications with MPI, holds a position as Program Coordinator with the Twin Cities Wedding and Event Professionals, and is the Development and Engagement Manager with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. We are speaking today with Elizabeth Sherry.
This time of year, we always look to what we're grateful for and find the positivity in sometimes daunting, scary tasks or day-to-day activities. So networking, I think, has a negative reputation, or to some, not all, but to some, and just making sure that people realize that the things that they dread or the word hate is powerful, but about networking is actually things that we need to be grateful for and excited about, so that way we can grow our businesses all together.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. When I've even heard from, someone like Janine Marie of Janine Marie Photography, I think she actually even might have used the word hateful in one of the interviews that I had seen with Twin Cities Wedding and Event Professionals, where she kind of dreaded going even into our group, the TCWP group, when she first started.
Oh, sure. I mean, I still I drive to these meetings, and I've now done this for almost 10 years as a part of the group. I still get the butterflies or the fast heartbeat as I'm driving to one of these, because it's the fear of the unknown, and we're sometimes so uncomfortable getting outside of our box. And this is where that hateful part, you're dreading that. You're like, oh, this is the worst. But the grateful part of it is that's exactly how we should be feeling. And even still into 10 years, we should be feeling, oh, I don't know who I'm going to meet. Am I going to know anyone there? Because that just builds up that excitement that when you are in a room, and even if you don't know anybody, you're going to then act upon making sure that room feels comfortable. So you're going to go against what that fear is and try to overcome it. And that is what I think that hateful into grateful turns into. And I want to just assure everybody, if this is your first time networking or you've been doing it for decades, I hope that they still have that feeling of anticipation and excitement and nervousness, because I think that just makes you turn on in the right way, and that you care so much about your business. So I hope people feel the jitters.
Are you saying that you, even after 10 years of networking once a month with TCWP, that you still get some of those
Oh, yeah.
feelings? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like the gym, Paul. It's like, oh, God, I really don't want to go to the gym. And then you get to the gym and it's amazing and you feel great. And so you're working those networking endorphins and it's just all coming out. And then you walk away from that event and you're just like, I'm so glad I went. And so again, just like the gym.
Well, and at the gym, I mean, there's specific things that one does, you sort of have a routine.
Yeah.
Is there something that you do that helps you kind of get through those jitters, if you would, when you're on your way, or even if you're even during an event? Is there something that you do that it's like, okay, to kind of help you work through those, or how do you approach that?
Yeah, great questions. Well, I guess for those who know me or have seen me at events, especially at TCWEP events where I have to wear two hats, I would love to network, but then I'm also trying to make sure the event's going well. I wish sometimes that I had more of networking time, but if you see me walk past you super fast, just know that I really want to chat with you, but I'm wearing my event hat that moment.
Right.
So I guess in that role, but really when I network and when I wasn't, or any other events I go to too that aren't TCWP, some tactics that I do, and it's really simple, basic things. Always be alert. And I know that sounds gosh, silly, like you're walking in a street that's unsafe, but be alert to the fact that there's somebody that might be around you and making eye contact with you. So use those opportunities well. Like when I'm going to an event in Minneapolis and I'm coming from a parking garage, just assume that maybe that person that's in that parking garage elevator with you might be going to the same event you are. Um,
Oh.
and start that conversation earlier. And granted, that person might be going to their work office and have nothing to do with the event. However, if you're about to walk with that person in the skyways through the parking elevator, you're probably going to leave at the same time and go to the back to the same parking elevator. Things like that. Then you've built this connection, and you've now found 2 to 3 extra minutes of concentrated networking time with an individual. So it's just simple. Be alert from the moment you leave your car. Here you are. This
Well,
is
it's
you're
also
at the place.
yeah, and that's also such a helpful tip because I mean, I've found myself in day-to-day life and in business and stuff where yeah, it turns out like the person that in the parking garage turns out to be
Yeah.
my client.
Yes.
Yeah, because I've never met them
Absolutely.
face to face, and it's like, oh, thankfully I didn't do something embarrassing or wasn't in a bad mood, or you know what I mean? Yeah, I really like that.
Absolutely. And so then let's say you now are at the event and you're in the line, if there's a line for registration, again, take that as an opportunity. I love lines at registration because that means I have more concentrated time to talk to the person in front of me or behind me. And yeah, don't ever look at a line as annoying, terrible, why is there a line? Look at it as you now have more networking time with somebody where they can't leave. And then you also are coming to an event where there's a lot of people. So how exciting is that? There's a network, there's a registration line.
That's again a really interesting perspective on that because whenever I'm in line, I'm always just like, okay, okay, come
Yeah.
on. But what a way to look at that. Yeah, I love it. I hadn't thought about that way myself. It's an opportunity.
And and it's okay not to. And I think just be when you're going to an event and assume that there's going to be networking involved, just be ready for people to try to make those connections with you in those areas and not be taken aback because you
Right.
might not be the one initiating that conversation, but someone else may want to. So that one is another big tactic for me. So then now you're through the registration line. Maybe you've already talked to some people, maybe you haven't. My biggest tip for those who are coming to especially one of our events or any others is don't sit down right away. I mean, yes, if you're running in at the last minute and the program started, yes, find your seat, don't be disruptive. But if for those where there's that networking reception time, be a part of that because if you go and sit down and you find your safe spot at your table and it's super comfortable for you, people won't think that you're wanting to engage. And I would imagine if you're sitting down, you're not going to be just standing or sitting there looking around. You're probably going to be on your phone, which makes it look like you're working. So all those types of things make you look unapproachable to somebody else and making it harder for them if they even are brave to come talk to you. So you are in your comfort zone, but you're by yourself in your comfort zone. Whereas if you were just a little uncomfortable, somebody can take the biggest step to ask you a question or to talk to you, and then make you feel more comfortable. So that's my biggest thing is just make yourself look approachable and don't be on your phone if you can help it too.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, no, nothing. I mean, good grief. When I'm at an event of any type, if somebody's on their phone, I don't talk to them. I don't want to
Yeah.
interrupt. Yeah.
Exactly. You think that they're busy, and you understand as a person. You're like you're human. Could be family. Could be work. I'm not going to bother that person. But maybe that person is just really uncomfortable. But it's hard to know. It's hard to know.
Yeah. Yeah. These are really good tips. I like this. It's sort of it's almost like a checklist that you can, again, kind of using that gym analogy, which I think is really perfect and cute. It's like, yep, check. I'm alert. Check. I talked to somebody
Exactly.
in line. Check. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess if I were to give kind of another piece, because you could probably ask me networking tips all day, and I could think of scenarios where I myself have fumbled or I've seen others fumble or get into a routine. But the biggest thing I could say is make sure you make it about the person that you're talking to first. Again, if you can help it, uh, because
How do you do that? Like, what does that
you
look
know,
like?
ask great questions. And that might even, if you're somebody who's uncomfortable and are so worried about what you need to say, don't. Ask the questions and make them talk the whole time. And by the end of it, you've learned a bunch about them, and they hopefully will then ask you a series of questions to learn about you. And then now that's that conversation. So I would say start off with a simple question of course, their name, but actually listen. This is the biggest problem with people this day and age. I think it's so hard to catch people's names because we're thinking about so many different things going on in our head. But when you're asked for somebody's name, stop, take a breath, and just absorb their name. And if you have to, think of somebody in your family or a celebrity that has a similar name, and then you associate the picture. That's what my little trick is, but I'm a visual person, so that's why.
No, it's a really good trick as one who I have a really hard time remembering people's names. So
Yeah.
that's a really good trick. Visualize something, an association. I'm gonna have to play with that and try that and see if that works.
Yeah, and maybe find your tactic because I think everybody has one. If it's coming up with a funny song or associating the first letter of their name to a food item, I've heard so many different tricks. But just know that if you didn't go through and you didn't absorb their name, it's still okay to ask and be super genuine about it. Being like, you know what, I was so nervous coming up to talking to you, and then you said your name, and I asked your name, and I forgot your name. I mean, how adorable is that? How humble is that? So yeah, I'll absolutely say my name again.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I really
Yeah.
like the don't sit down right away. The other thing I've noticed, especially with TCWP, is it seems like right at the end of a meeting, if people leave right away, they miss a lot of networking time.
There is. Yeah, I think about the bonds that I've created by walking out with somebody or helping them load out, helping me load out, things of that nature. So, it is important to stick around, but we understand people have work and jobs to get back to. I mean, this could even be another idea or thought I have about hateful to grateful, but you're kind of hateful that you do or don't have time for networking. And when you do find the time for networking, you dread it. And when you say that you're too busy to go network, you're hateful about that. So turning those things into, it's a bummer you couldn't make it to networking that month. Somehow try to carve out the time if you can. Again, like the gym, right? But it's a really important, but it's not always something you can do every month. And you are busy, and we get that. But just make sure that when you're networking, you're doing it intentionally and strategically, so that you're remembered. And then networking does not need to be just going to a group of people of 60 to 70. Networking can be following up from somebody, the meeting that you just met, somebody at, and saying, hey, let's grab lunch. And that seems to be a little bit easier to find time in your schedule for.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, everybody has to eat, right?
Yeah, there you go. Everyone has to eat. It's an hour. Make it convenient for you if you have to. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, there's something interesting to as one who's been to TCWP and stuff. I mean, there's oftentimes so many people around.
Mhm.
Um and maybe I can say that's part of the hateful part. It's like, "Oh my gosh, there's so many people, it's overwhelming." Ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But really just yeah, myself if there's somebody that I find interesting, I always it's like, "Oh, well, let's grab a coffee." And
Yeah.
because this isn't always it's a room full of networking, but really that one-on-one can be so beneficial.
Yes, absolutely. I think to measure a successful networking event for myself is if I walk away with one good to great contact. And the way that you can measure that as far as good to great is having that lunch with them because they might know somebody that maybe they're not the right contact for you, but the person that they know are. So I would
Yeah,
say
yeah.
just always try and ask those questions because maybe that person's a photographer and you're a photographer, but they might know or they might have a client that needs a photographer and they're busy. You never know where the end of that chain will
Right.
go.
Right. They might have a hotel where it's like they're looking they're looking for a
Yeah,
photographer to be
yeah,
on their on their list of preferred vendors. Yes, exactly.
absolutely. Yes.
No, this has been really great. We have, I think, like a minute or two left here. Is there anything that you want to leave people with, Elizabeth, before we let them go?
Yeah, yeah. I think don't you can be afraid, but don't let that fear of networking stop you from coming. So you feel all the feelings of I'm too busy, I'm too afraid, I'm scared, I'm nervous, but still come. The only way you're going to get through that hurdle is to start coming. And yes, 10 years later, you might still feel the pitter patter, but it goes away instantly when I see somebody that I know or don't know, and I get to then now have this great new contact. So take those opportunities when you can.
Well, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the next TCWEP event.
You too. Yes, the venue looks beautiful. I'm excited.
Yes, we will see you there. Thanks so much, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Paul.